Okay, evening, everybody. Hope everyone had a good day at work and had a good dinner. Time for some more intel. Show number two. All right, yep, no problem. Yep, I was the chosen one for the past 6 years and on. Oh, Did you listen to the first show? JK, are you working tonight? Okay, yeah, I went on. Yeah, you don't know when yeah, I'm not gonna. I just come on when I can and stay on as long as I can, and so there's really no set time anymore. There's so much going on. Oh, okay. Yeah, that Christie lady got fired today. I'm gonna do JJ's first two clips for her. I don't know if you saw it yet. Had another good show this afternoon. Hope everybody goes back and listens to it. Trump spoke today for 10 minutes. I'm trying to find it on YouTube.
Financial disclosure has been a hot topic in Oakland County.
The General gives you a break to keep you covered. Yeah, whether it's on your car insurance or taking a break from being the auto tech guy.
Rashida Tlaib under five, longing for her homeland, clearly in some major way. We'll play a soundbite for you of her on the campaign trail, talking to her peeps.
There's so much intel out now every day. So much to cover. Carol. Yeah, I was on for 3 hours. Oh, Chico. Oh. No, Chico. Dog comes every time at this time of the night. They get home about 6 o'clock, 6:30. He'll stop here in about 5 minutes. Hey, Chico, he's gone. He's gone, Chico. Come on. Get back on the couch. Oh, stop it.
Look at CNN, for example.
Chico. That's enough. Stop it.
Change was on the ballot. Change won.
Whoever prevails in
Okay, I got that. I found that speech, that 12-minute speech on YouTube. We'll get that after I play the first two for JJ. Kay must be on the phone. Get back on the couch, okay? Kiki. Here you go. Hey, get back on the couch now. He's gone. This is kind of interesting, JJ.
$3.1 billion 4-kilometer tunnel 245 meters away from being done. It's structurally sound for most of its length. The fit-out is well advanced, the lining poured. By every conventional measure, it is essentially a finished road. But for nearly 2 years, it has sat dark, sealed off, and silent. While above it, a legal war burns through taxpayer money, and the people it was built to serve sit in traffic on the Princess Highway. What is inside that tunnel that nobody can fix? To understand what was at stake when that ground gave way, you have to go back, way back. Sydney's southern suburbs have needed a proper motorway connection to the city's road network for decades. The corridor for it was officially gazetted and reserved as part of the Cumberland County Plan, the post-war blueprint for Greater Sydney's future. That plan was adopted in 1951. For the next 7 decades, the project floated in and out of political relevance. It got names: the F6 extension, the South Connects, eventually the M6. It collected plans, proposals, feasibility studies, and promises in equal measure. Every decade brought a new announcement and a new delay. The Princess Highway through the southern suburbs was carrying tens of thousands of vehicles a day, including heavy freight trucks, because there was simply nowhere else for them to go. Finally, in October 2017, the New South Wales government committed to stage 1 of the project. Planning approval came through in December 2019, and in May 2021, a $2.5 billion design and construction contract was awarded to CGU, a joint venture between CBP contractors, Geller, and UGL. Main construction began in January 2022. Sydney had been waiting for this since before most of the people building the tunnel were born. After 73 years, they were finally months from the finish line. The scope of M6 Stage 1 was specific and significant. Twin tunnels running beneath Sydney's southern suburbs from the M8 motorway at Arncliffe down to President Avenue at Kogarah. The promise to commuters and residents was concrete. More than 2,000 heavy trucks removed from local surface roads every single day. 23 sets of traffic lights bypassed on the Prince's Highway between St. Peter's and Kogarah. For residents above the tunnels, it meant quieter streets and cleaner air, and for the state, it closed a gap in the motorway network that had been sitting open for generations. For most of its length, the M6 behaved exactly as the engineers expected. The heading and bench method worked like this. Road header machines cut the upper portion of the tunnel profile first, the heading, advancing a few meters at a time through the Hawkesbury sandstone. Once the heading was secured and lined, crews returned to excavate the lower bench. Then the process repeated. Methodical, controlled, predictable. And 4 kilometers, it was. The sandstone in the northern and central sections of the alignment was consistent, manageable rock. The twin bores pushed south through Arncliffe and Walleye Creek. Concrete lining went in behind the face. By late 2023, construction had passed the 80% mark. The surface road upgrades along President Avenue were advancing. The project was tracking. Then the machines turned south toward Rockdale, and the geology changed. And here is where the story gets complicated. Sydney's Hawkesbury sandstone is a well-understood material. Engineers have been tunneling through it for decades, and it tends to behave. But the geology beneath Rockdale specifically is different. In that area, the sandstone gives way to softer sands and clays, ground that demands different, more specialized treatment before you start drilling through it. Standard practice for soft ground tunneling involves jet grouting, a method that injects high-pressure cement slurry into unstable ground ahead of the excavation phase, solidifying material before it becomes a problem. It's not cheap and it's not fast, but it works. According to reporting by the Sydney Morning Herald, WSP, the primary geotechnical subcontractor on the project, flagged the risks in this specific area. The lead contractor, CBP, reportedly chose a different approach, working with a separate subcontractor, PSM, instead. On top of this soft ground issue, there was something buried beneath Rockdale that nobody had fully mapped. A high-angle reverse fault runs directly beneath this section of alignment, a geological structure that essentially pulverizes rock, turning solid sandstone into a rubber-like mix that is deeply unstable under pressure. CGU later told its own workers this fault type had never before been identified anywhere in the Sydney Basin. At this exact beneath.
So what do you think so far, JJ? Yep, part 2 here.
Application, the tunnel was only 16 meters below street level at its closest point. Most of the rest of the M6 runs at depths of 60 meters or more. What happens when you drill through rubble with 16 meters of city above your head? March 1st, 2024 answered that question. When the excavation equipment hit the fault zone, the rubble began to destabilize. Water infiltrated from above, and material started migrating upward through the tunnel face into the void forming at the surface. The first sinkhole on March 1st collapsed the ground beneath an industrial building, forcing evacuations and emergency stabilization efforts. Fire and Rescue New South Wales stabilized the site over the following days. Engineers pumped concrete into the void to stop further movement and shore up the building's foundations. The second event, on March 9th, confirmed what engineers feared most. A tunnel project this large, this far along, had a systemic problem with a specific stretch of its alignment, not an isolated one-off incident. SafeWork New South Wales established exclusion zones at both sites. All tunnelling in the affected area stopped immediately. Once engineers could properly assess the scope of the damage, they landed on a number: 245 metres. That was the length of the tunnel section now frozen in place, sitting beneath a geological fault zone with its lining compromised, the surrounding ground unstable, and no path forward that anyone could certify as safe. The tunnel was, remember, 90% complete, and just like that, the end of 2025 completion date was gone overnight. The sinkholes stopped the tunnel, What came next threatened to stop it permanently. The government's position was simple. CGU signed a contract that made them responsible for whatever the ground threw at them. That's what design and construct means. You own the problem. CGU's position was equally simple. Nobody knew that fault was there. Nobody could have known. You cannot hold a contractor responsible for a geological feature that had never been documented anywhere in the Sydney Basin. Both positions have logic. Neither moved the tunnel forward. In May 2025, CGU, the construction consortium, formally walked off the job, announcing plans to demobilise from all sites by the end of June. Premier Chris Minns was blunt: send the lawyers home and bring back the engineers. Nobody listened quickly enough. By mid-2025, the government had spent more than $5.54 million on legal fees. The legal questions remained unanswered. But on West Botany Street, the drilling rigs kept working. The engineering community has been watching this closely, and the path forward, while severe, is clearly solvable. As of early 2026, the work to strengthen the ground beneath West Botany Street is already well underway. Utility relocation began in January 2025, and from March 2025 onward, large piling rigs have been drilling into the ground and inserting reinforced concrete columns along the tunnel alignment using jet grouting and deep soil mixing. The goal is to create stable, strengthened ground around the remaining 245-metre section before excavation restarts. Once ground improvement is finished, crews will access the tunnel through a temporary shaft inside the Bicentennial Park construction shed and excavate the final section. SafeWork New South Wales must certify that conditions are safe before any tunnelling can restart, and that process is ongoing. These techniques are proven on soft ground tunnelling projects across the world. They are slow and they require careful monitoring, but they create a predictable working environment where the fault zone did not. The engineering path forward exists. The bigger question, as it has been since May 2025, is who carries the financial burden of completing it. As of February 2026, M6 Stage 1 has been suspended in the affected section for nearly 2 years. Ground improvement work on West Botany Street is ongoing, with lane restrictions in place through the end of 2026
How
while
far
the
is
drilling
that
and
from
column
you,
work
JJ?
continues. The surface works across the broader project, the road upgrades on President Avenue and surrounding streets, the 5 kilometres of shared pedestrian and cyclist pathways, and the new parks and open spaces were substantially completed by the end of 2025 as planned. The Princes Highway still has the trucks, 2,000 heavy vehicles a day that were supposed to disappear into this tunnel when it opened. It didn't open. They're still there. The tunnel itself is targeting a revised opening of late 2028. Given the complexity of the remaining work and the unresolved questions about who funds the completion, some observers think even that timeline is optimistic. The road corridor beneath Sydney's southern suburbs was first reserved in 1951. The location.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if you saw that. Figured that was a good one. So I got a 10-minute coming up next.
Let's get to the reason that we're here, and it's a beautiful reason because we're honoring truly talented people. Today, we're thrilled to host the 2025 MLS Cup champions, Inter Miami. Great job. And it's my distinct privilege to say what no American president has ever had the chance to say before. Welcome to the White House, Lionel Messi. Lionel Messi is, my son said, Dad, you know who's going to be there today? I said, no, I got a lot of things going on. He said, Messi. I said, really? He's a big fan. He's a big fan of yours. He thinks you're just a great person, and I think you got to meet a little while. So he's a big soccer fan, but he's a tremendous fan of yours, and a gentleman named Ronaldo. We have Cristiano is great. You're great, boy. Some big champions, some great athletes in that sport, and people that really love what they're doing, and they're doing it well. And it's an honor for us and everybody at the White House to be honoring you today. So congratulations as well to co-owners Jorge and Jose Mas, who came from Cuba, right? Originally from Cuba. Huh? Your parents came. And you're going to go back. Oh, yeah. It's going to be, and you won't need my approval. You just fly back in when I can just see that. It's going to be a great day, right? We're going to celebrate that separately. I just want to wait a couple of weeks. I wanted to wait a couple of weeks, but we'll be together again soon, I suspect, celebrating what's going on in Cuba. They want to make a deal so badly, you have no idea. As well as head coach, who I hear is a phenomenal coach, Javier Mascherano. Where's the coach? I've heard he's a great coach. Well, anybody who wins is a good coach in my book, but I heard you're a hell of a coach. And all of the tremendous players that are just amazing. We're also grateful to be joined by the MLS Commissioner, Don Garber. Don, wherever you're, Don. Stand up, Don. Good job. Good job. As well as proud Miami sports fan, Secretary of State. I'm telling you, he's going to go down as the best Secretary of State in the country's history, Marco Rubio. I don't want him to get too popular. It's true. I don't want them to get too popular. You know, when they get too popular, all of a sudden you see, where's Marco? He's not around anymore. I don't see him. He's doing some job, and your next one is going to be, we want to do that special Cuba. He's waiting, but he says, let's get this one finished first. We could do them all at the same time, but bad things happen. If you watch countries over the years, you do them all too fast, bad things happen. We're not going to let anything bad happen to this country. Also with us are Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's a terrific person and fan. And she's proving how tough she is, and I think the next 3 years she's going to really prove it, right? Huh? Like these people. Secretary Scott Bessent, Lori Chavez de Rima, and Sean Duffy. Thank you, everybody. What a great team. And U.S. Trade Representative, who's done incredible deals, unbelievable, Jamison Greer. Thank you, Jamison Greer. And our country has never been bigger, better, richer, or stronger, and the deals we're making are unbelievable. And a lot of it's because of the tariffs, and a lot of it's because of everything else. We had a complicating factor with tariffs the other day with the Supreme Court. They did the wrong thing, but it didn't make any difference because we have another way of doing it. They always have to make it the hard way. Do you know about that? You always have to. Is it like that? It's always got to be the difficult way, right? Little bit. Huh? Makes you work harder, right? Absolutely. But we're doing great. Our country is doing incredibly well. It's never done like this. It's, I was with the King of Saudi Arabia. He said, a year and a half ago, we thought your country was dead, would never come back. And now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world, which was sort of cool. I'll relate that story. But many leaders say the same thing. We have the hottest country anywhere in the world. 2025 was the record-shattering season for Inter Miami beginning last summer at the historic FIFA Club World Cup, hosted for the first time right here in the USA. So exciting. I shouldn't say this because you'll say I'm old, but I watched Pele play. He played for the Cosmos. You know that? And Steve Ross was a great friend. I don't know how many people remember Steve. He was a legendary businessman. He really started cable TV. He was way ahead of time and ultimately passed away tragically. But he started the Cosmos team and he wanted to get some good players. So he started with Pele. I don't know. You may be better than Pele. Pele was pretty good. Who's better, him or Pele? I agree. I think he is. But he was pretty good, right? Pelé was pretty good. But it was very exciting. And I went to the games. I'd go every once in a while, but soccer just didn't catch on. And then when Steve got ill, it sort of went away. And then it came back. And now it's just turning out to be amazing how it's coming back in this country. But the Cosmos were a very hot team, playing with other teams that weren't so good. But I got to watch Pelé play, and he was something too. In the June group stage of that tournament, these players went toe-to-toe with some of the best teams anywhere in the world. You tied Egypt's best club, supposed to be an unbelievable, talented club, with a gutsy performance from veteran goalie Oscar Ostari, who played a great game. Then you tied the top Brazilian club, wow, thanks to a brilliant goal from one of the greatest strikers of all time, Luis Suarez. Was he? Where is Luis? These are good-looking people. Marco, I don't like good-looking men. You don't feel so good about yourself standing up here. Good-looking people. In the 65th minute, Louis gathered the ball around midfield and turned for a vintage solo run, dribbling through the defense, driving past defenders like few people have ever seen before, cutting to his left, hammering home a goal that secured Miami's place in the next round. But no match in the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup was more important than the match against FC Porto. Porto took an early lead, but you came back strong in the 54th minute, tied 1-1. Leo lined up for one of his iconic free kicks. He struck the ball decisively, bending it over the wall and beating the keeper with a sensational left hook. Would I be able to do that if I practiced? He said, no, I think he's right, my friend. Great. In that moment, you sealed a truly historic Inter-Miami victory, becoming the first club from North America ever to beat a European club in official competition. Unbelievable. You know, I have to just interject. So over the years, I love sports, and I've watched my friend A-Rod. With George Steinbrenner. I'd sit in his box, just the two of us. He would never have anybody but me. He liked me, right? He liked me, and he liked you. He liked almost nobody. It would be a World Series when baseball was hot. It's not as hot now, I'll be honest with you. They do things wrong. But when baseball was hot as a pistol with George, and I'd sit and I'd watch the Yankees, and he'd have 30 seats, and it would just be me and him. And I said to A-Rod, would say, what was the most difficult thing you've ever done? I said, it's probably sitting for 3 hours with George Steinbrenner watching a Yankee playoff game or World Series game. You know what I mean by that. He was a difficult guy, but he was great, right? He liked me, I liked him, and we both liked nobody else. And that was a good combination.
Okay, he was honoring a soccer team out of Miami. Four minutes.
Thursday, March 5th, 2026. Hello, I am John Michael Chambers, and this is your War Report. I have to listen with love, as where we go one, we go all. The following report has been provided in part by Guardian Daniel R. Patriots, death to America, they said. Death to Trump, they said. It went ignored, in fact, further empowered by our hijacked election presidents. DJT drops bombs. BHO dropped pallets of cash. Pedaling back to clean up rogue nations whom have been empowered in part by the BHO and autopen president of the so-called Joe Biden. Serious threats are being neutralized. Peace through strength. Without world peace, We cannot enter the new world. So let us hope and pray that these are the final steps to lead us all of us, there. Many in our movement, Anons and digital soldiers, patriots are now asking themselves, how does war fit into everything we want for humanity? Well, we've been at war for a long, long time. Now we are seeing certain events come to light. We may not like the circumstances, but we must also understand that, as is so often the case, we do not yet know the full
Lucy's not here
context
yet.
and therefore do not understand. War always brings out the worst in people. We know that only too well. We must let things develop and not judge too hastily. This is not about trusting the plan, but about observing, keeping our eyes
That's a good
open,
question
and
there,
ultimately
Kay. I don't know.
evaluating whether it was necessary, right, and inevitable. World peace without world peace. We cannot enter the new world. So let us hope and pray that these are the final steps to lead us all there. DJT drops bombs, BHO drop pallets of cash. America and the world will be safer, and the golden age will be ushered in. Nothing can stop what's coming. Enough said.
Okay, that's that one guy. He has a DJ on tonight. They got a show tonight. DJ, that guy. Okay, Final, we got 4 minutes. Judge on. See what this one.
Confronted, negotiated, and after all, peaceful options were rejected, being addressed for the betterment of Middle East peace. Coalition partners, including the United States, Iranian patriots, Germany, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Kuwait, Turkey, and many others, are focused on Middle East peace, economic stability, and the cessation of endless death and terrorism. They have constructed a detailed 175-page rescue, stabilization, sovereign governance, and exit strategy plan to give Iranian people their nation back and then leave as soon as possible. What's most telling is the visceral hatred, hostility, and hypocrisy of the angry, vile critics screeching against opponents of centralized Iranian terror. This cadre of fear and doom are serving as a status quo chorus of irrational lunatics. The top opponent to Middle East peace is the City of London, global headquarters for central banking war profiteers since the 1600s. This crew of howling monkeys is ironically
I can't remember I
aligned
played
with
this the
human
other night.
traffickers, narco terrorists, fear mongering globalists, and divide, confuse, and conquer specialists who remain dedicated to their keep hell on earth business model going strong for another 500 years. But now the lights are on, motives are clear, people are awakening, the rats are running, and what control freaks truly worship is now too obvious to deny. Who they are speaks so clearly, we can no longer tolerate their lies. Follow the money, actions, and hidden truths, and the power goons and goblins hoping the world remained asleep
2 minutes.
lose. When we unite and stand against godless evil reigning hell on earth, we win. Evil never voluntarily retires. When we stop drinking the cocktail of naivety, ignorance, and cowardice, freedom and abundance for all becomes our destiny. But this is only part of the story. Long before central banks, long before modern geopolitics, humanity was given a warning. Thousands of years ago, a simple principle governed civilized societies. The rule was not complicated. It was not ideological. It was not political. It was moral. The principle was this: honest weights and measures. Because once a society corrupts its scales, it corrupts everything. The ancient warning was preserved in the book of Proverbs. It reads, Dishonest scales are an abomination, not inefficient, not unfortunate, not regrettable, an abomination. For centuries, power has quietly flowed to those who control the scales of money, the scales of debt, the scales of information, the scales of war. But something new is emerging. For the first time in human history, technology now allows the scales themselves to be transparent. Honest weights and measures are not just a moral ideal, they are becoming a technological possibility. And when the scales become honest again, systems built on deception cannot survive, because the oldest economic law in civilization is also the simplest. Honest scales build trust,
You guys
dishonest
remember this
scales
one?
build empires, and every empire built on dishonest scales eventually collapses under its own weight. And now you know the rest of the story.
I might have played it. Sorry if I played it again. So the next one is Julie Green, you guys. She had a prophecy, today's prophecy about somebody that starts with a letter O. It's 10 minutes. Let me know if you want me to stop it.
You'll see a difference in your attitude and a difference in your confidence, a difference in your boldness when you're standing against adversity, especially knowing that God is on the inside of you. All right, I hope that encouraged you. Now I'm going to get to this prophetic word. I think a lot of people are going to be shocked at this title. I prayed about this title for days, actually, because I always ask God what he wants me to title these prophetic words. He gives me the prophetic words. Then later on, when I go back and look them over and I dictate them on the computer, that's when I pray into the title. So I don't always get the title right away. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And this title actually surprised me. And I'm sure it's going to be very exciting for everyone to hear this title, but this is from February 28th, 2026. Obama will be arrested. Obama will be arrested. That is the title of this prophetic word. Woe to those in D.C. that are trying to undermine my David, who are trying to destroy the United States. All
This
your
one
plans
okay
will
to
be
play or
disrupted.
what?
Your blood money will be exposed, and everyone who is against me will be removed, says the Lord. Every deal that was made between Iran and Obama will soon be revealed. I will say this again. Obama has been paying Iran to attack Israel. The globalists want to see it annihilated so they can take over the oil and the resources that are there. I'll expose how Obama and the deep state infiltrated the Mossad and have used them against Israel and against the United States. Secret deals and secret payments hidden in the dead of night or given during the time of war to shield that what they were really doing will all be exposed and their plans will be destroyed. Obama's lies are coming out. Obama and all of his administration will be exposed for the treasonous acts they are committing and continuously against this nation. Money given to murderers will be found and given back to the United States. My children, trillions of dollars have been going overseas, not to bring peace, but to start chaos and more wars. Your enemies always wanted a war to distract from what is really going on. There is proof and whistleblowers that are coming forward to expose Obama's shadow government that is still in place right now, sabotaging this nation and my David in any way possible. Dirty deals with not only Iran, Ukraine, Afghanistan, China, and many other countries during Obama and Biden's time in office. Classified documents will be open to show you what all they both had done, and their hands all they both were doing, what their hands were into during their time in power. Obama will soon be arrested and justice will be served. Biden's family deals overseas will be exposed and how Obama cleared these deals that took place and paid off every person involved in killing anyone they didn't trust. Not only was Biden a fraud because he wasn't really the president, but also the fraud he committed during this whole political career will prove how fake he really was. How the deep state covered up anything Joe, Hunter, or any of his family members had done. Every crime, including the death of his wife. It was not an accident. Joe Biden told everyone, but it was a murder to hide his criminal activities. It was not an accident, like Joe Biden told everyone. It was a murder to hide his criminal activity. She wanted to expose him, so he had her killed before she could. Joe Biden no longer wanted to be with his wife. He wanted Jill instead. Jill knew about Joe's crimes and all that he was doing to the little children. So she too is guilty of treason and murder, and she will be judged for it all. Hunter's laptops will come out in the open. The deep state and the intelligence community can no longer protect these laptops or the contents of these computers. That can take out most of the criminals in Washington, D.C. Anthony Weiner's laptop will be back in the news. And soon Nancy Pelosi's laptop will also come out and destroy every narrative on January 6th. It will expose plots to set up President Trump and how they came up with those lies to impeach him during his first term. There's also proof of her fortune and how she obtained it with insider trading, along with most people in high, powerful governmental positions. Nancy's laptop will be a nightmare for the deep state. It will destroy their narrative of the impeachments, election fraud, and the January 6th setup. It won't be long and every dirty politician will be judged. And you will see what happened to those that have already been judged under the radar. My children, all countries who are against the United States and Israel will collapse and will be judged. New governments and new leaders will take place of the murderers who were in those seats before them. The time of change, the time of great judgment, the time of...
Like I said, I don't normally play Julie Green, but this one here I thought was one to play.
Justice is here that is being served, says the Lord. So justice is being served. This time is here. The time of change, the time of great judgment, and the time of justice. It's here. And you think, well, we're never going to see Obama being arrested because, the deep state always gets away with everything because they have judges in their back pockets and they have the all judicial system. They have the Supreme Court. They have all these things working on their behalf. They've invaded everything. They're everywhere. There's no way. Well, I'm sure Pharaoh thought the same thing. I'm sure Nebuchadnezzar, when he was going against God, never thought in a million years he would go crazy and act like an animal.
Thanks, Maria. How's it going?
I'm sure King Belshazzar never knew that in one night, not only would he be killed, but his whole entire kingdom destroyed. I'm sure everybody thought those people in that particular time period that they were going to get away with what they were doing too. Pharaoh probably never saw not only God was going to remove and he was going to let all of his people out of Egypt, but I'm sure the Israelites never understood totally how God was not only going to free them from Pharaoh's hand, but he was also going to give them all their wealth. Then they could leave. I'm sure Pharaoh never saw that coming either. I'm sure Pharaoh never thought in a million years when he went to go after the Israelites to go bring them back, to get all of his fortunes back, to get his slaves back, they can keep building Egypt. He probably never saw the Red Sea going to be his end. Because no one could have imagined how the Red Sea was going to part, let alone come down on all the Pharaoh and all of his chariots and all of his horsemen, all of his army. He never saw that coming. Our enemies are not going to see this coming. And all those kings and all those leaders that were against, I'm sure Haman, we know Haman never saw it coming, because Haman was building the gallows for Mordecai in the book of Esther. He never imagined the night he was building that kept the king up. So the king was reading in this book, was reading about Mordecai saving him. And then the next day that he was going to parade Mordecai around and praise him. Haman never realized that when he was building the gallows. Haman never saw that coming, that he was going to be hung on the very gallows that he built. Pride always becomes before a fall. And you have so many people that think they're above the law. So many think they have all these fail-safes and all these protections and everything is on their side and everything is working for them. I'm sure all those people I just gave an example had all these same things working for them too. And one day it didn't work. Why? Because God is bigger. There is nothing, and we say this a lot. I'm telling you, there is nothing that our enemies are doing that is outsmarting God. There's nothing. God has been showing me that so much. He's been showing all of us this so much, that no matter how intelligent these people are, and no matter who they have in their back pocket, no matter how much money they have, no matter what they're all involved in, it's not bigger than him. And what's going in Iran, yes, that was needed, because Iran had a lot of things that not only they were trying to kill President Trump, they were trying to kill this nation. That's why they chant all the time, death to America, death to Israel, all the time. But there's other things that are going on in Iran that we're going to find out about that, again, Obama was dealing with. Obama was dealing under the table still, to this day, with his shadow government, he was still dealing with Iran. And we're going to find all these things out. And justice is going to be served, because God's a God of justice. That's the reason why when God is giving us all these examples and he's telling us these things, this is going to happen. And you say, well, it's just too impossible. Well, there's nothing impossible for God. Well, he's going to get you spend.
All right. Yep. I hope that one was okay. I don't normally play her.
First high-profile firing of Donald Trump's administration this term. I know that Donald Trump went into this new term as president really and truly hoping to not have the turnover like he had in the previous administration. Donald Trump being someone who's not afraid to fire somebody if he feels that they are not performing up to snuff. But I really detest many of the mainstream media platforms, and even some of the conservative ones, who are trying to act as though they don't know why Kristi Noem or what Donald Trump was thinking as to why he fired her. I listened to her interaction with the Senate hearing yesterday, and I know the very moment that Donald Trump decided he was going to fire her, he had no choice. Donald Trump is facing a lot of criticism from the right and from the left. He cannot afford to have anyone around him who is a swamp creature, or anyone around him who is dealing with any type of impropriety. So it came out that Kristi Noem had spent over $200 million, right, on this ad campaign for the Border Patrol and for the DHS. Now, in that, she made it seem almost like a campaign video. She was front and center, and she was the center of the entire thing. Now, this frustrated people like John Kennedy in the Senate, and he was asking her, this $220 million of the taxpayers' money, was Donald Trump, did you have clearance to do this? She claimed that Donald Trump was 100% behind it and that he gave her a full green light to do this. Well, then the Democrats got a hold of it. And they said, okay, so with this money, you spent $143 million on this company called the Save America Media Company. Now, the Safe America Media Company, forgive me, Safe. And so this company was incorporated 8 days before this contract was awarded. Now, generally, when a government contract goes out, they take bids from different companies to make sure they're getting the best deal. She decided to go with this one company. There was absolutely no bidding. It was a no bid situation. Okay. But then we find out that the Safe America Media Company, that they didn't have an address, they didn't have a website, they did not have any real leadership, right? And so there was no way to trace this company. But then after doing some digging, we came to realize that this company was owned by friends and former colleagues of Kristi Noem when she was governor. Now, that's a problem. That reeks of impropriety. Donald Trump can't have that. And then in addition to that, she spends $70 million on a luxury jet that she claims was going to be used to deport illegal aliens. Now, a luxury private jet is not something you typically buy for a deportation. She says, well, we're in the process of gutting it, and then we're going to turn it into something more appropriate. Instead of, we're going to take the luxury bedroom and bathroom out, and we're going to make it more appropriate. If you were going to take a $70 million jet and refurbish it for the cost of that, why not just buy a basic jet to start with instead of buying a luxury jet and refurbishing it? None of it made sense. So Donald Trump really had no choice. He had to fire her, had to get rid of her, and make sure that he was keeping any scandal or any scandalous people out of his cabinet. Can't afford it. Let me know what you guys think about this, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment below. I'll see you guys next time. Be blessed.
Okay, that was Q. She had a big video here, 3,000 likes, views.
A little bit, and then when he came back, he looked totally different. Everybody was like, man, what the hell? He looked like a different dude. And yeah, well, that's when the military came and swooped him up and took him to Gitmo for military tribunals. And then the military threw in a 2.0, because Trump says, oh, central casting. But you also remember when all that went down, Trump also come out and said, Ron DeSanctimonious, that pointed him, and central casting, they're all just central casting. Yeah, because Ron was not a very good dude. Ron was in bed with Anthony Stephen Fauci. In Oklahoma, they had a diamond business together. See, it's like this. Even the elites had a refinery. So when they were done with the children that they didn't want anymore, the ones that they've already trafficked and raped and used and ate off of and all that, they sent them to the refinery and turned them into a diamond, then made another profit off of them. That's how deep and sick these people are. But y'all go ahead and keep popping off. Y'all keep wearing your diamonds. Keep on, I'm going to keep wearing my diamonds until I know this. You'll never know. You will never know. Diamond, a man's best friend. And I wanted to add this last thing. Y'all remember the real Ron? The real Ron was in the military. He was part of the infiltrated military. Remember the one that Trump had to rebuild? Because the military was helping traffic the children. It's deep. It's really deep. Not all the military, just a portion was infiltrated. It does your country a lot of good if you start going down a lot of these holes. Because then you could be like us, a lot of us. You'll know a lot, and it'll lead you to other things. We still haven't learned it all. There's still so much more. Every day we're learning something new. Just keep going and not give up. Come up for air, breathe. Love you guys.
She does a good job. Like I said, never give up. I'm going to play a short video of Tim Allen. 5 minutes.
Want him to say, and he makes that very clear that he is handling everything today. He has had enough of Hollywood and their insanity, and he clearly does not care at all about playing by their rules anymore. And this is absolutely incredible to see the journey that Tim Allen has been on over the past few months to a year, and even going back further than that, because Tim Allen has become a target in a lot of ways in Hollywood. He has been blacklisted mildly in the past as well because of him doing things like supporting Trump. And it was only a couple of months ago that he received an insane amount of backlash from Hollywood after he said this about Trump and Melania on Bill Maher's show.
I met the dude at a dinner with his wife, who was genuinely a wonderful person, and he was more, this was I think the second to last year, the last year of The Apprentice. And he was thinking of moving to Los Angeles and being a movie producer. And he was talking about movies. He said, really? He said, I really like the film business. More than that, the guy's addicted to comedy. He was so, I was, killing at the table, and he's going, what a gift to do that. He's laughing about this and that. And he was a genuine one of the guys, I don't know if he was like, he sits and talks like that. When he listens, he's a good listener. He's a good listener.
And Hollywood and the leftists made it very clear how they feel about Melania when it was just a couple weeks after that the Melania film came out. They absolutely despise her as much as they despise Trump. It is literally insane. But today, what Tim Allen said in this video has Hollywood very upset, has the leftists very upset, because he said the one thing that really strikes at the core of what Hollywood hates, and it's absolutely incredible. He absolutely goes for the jugular of what Hollywood hates, and it is absolutely fantastic. And then that brings us to what he said in this absolutely incredible video today. Like I said, we have to pray for Tim Allen, because not only is he going through a lot personally right now, and he makes that very clear in this video, but this is going to make him an even greater enemy of Hollywood in so many ways.
The Bible is not what I thought it was. It's very little preachy stuff. The Aramaic, French, Latin, and Greek versions of the Old Testament, page by page, I put it down if I drift. And I got all the way through the Old Testament. I'm 4 pages into the New Testament as of this morning. Reading it as a scientist is what 2 guys told me, a priest and a rabbi. EXE, let the words come to you. Do not look for meaning. It will come to you. And all of that has been, it's been life-changing. It's stories you'll derive, it's mostly the Torah is about law. Law and consequence and all this. And the book of Job is the one that affected me most. And even in this version, they're not sure where that was even written.
And I do want to hear in the comments below, because I'm curious which book of the Bible has affected you the most. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that if you've read the Bible.
Might have been written way before the Old Testament. This whole story about a guy who asked the emanation, why are you so mean to me? The emanation very rarely talks to humans, because it's like speaking to an ant. He can't understand anything it says. And it said, listen, do you understand why the waves stop at the shore? Probably not. Do you understand why birds fly at a certain time of day but not others? No. Part of the planet is frozen solid. The stars all move in the same direction. Do you know any of that? You weren't here when I started it. You weren't here when I created this. You weren't here for any of this. And this is the first question you want to know is, why did you do this?
And all of this ties into what Tim Allen said just a couple weeks ago as well. A somber thought from one of my philosopher buddies. His switch to a spiritual thought really hit my heart. Christ was a mediator, joining a fallen world and a distant God. Jesus left and no more mediator. Now, obviously, there's some theological issues here with what he is saying, but all this is to show that Tim Allen is absolutely on a very special journey right now, and it is incredible to watch his eyes continue to be opened more and more to who Jesus really is and what is the meaning of the Bible and all of that. And it's just absolutely fantastic to see. He is very close to finding the truth of what the entire Bible is about, which obviously is Jesus, and that is going to be incredible to see, and that is exactly what Hollywood does not want one of their biggest stars of all time to find the truth about. Pray for Tim Allen and this journey that he is on. This is absolutely incredible. Let me know what you think about this in the comments.
I hope Tim Allen was good. He was a good one. That guy was on YouTube. A 7-minute one on Trisha.
In Dearborn, Michigan, was caught on camera today in a giant memorial service to the Ayatollah, praising him and saying that America is the devil and America was founded by devils. We're not going to play too much of this because I don't like it one single bit. It's kind of freaky. All right. I'm just going to tell you. But these are her peeps, okay? These are her people. These are the people that got her elected. These are the people that have come here, taking advantage, frankly, of our country in so many ways, and yet hate our country. I got a real problem with that. We've had some real problems, let's be honest, with Dearborn, Michigan, and some of the mosques and, facilitators that you have out there. So this is concerning. Watch.
We're gathered here today to commemorate the martyrdom of the great leader of our time, السيد علي الحسيني الخامنئي رحمة الله عليه.
We might think this was an attack led by Zionist Jews, but the commander of their mission is the very one who was trying to prove that Adam was not worth prostrating to. Iblis is the one behind the scenes leading their camp, in the shadows lurking, irking, in their symbology, their ideologies, their psychology, their economy, claiming they follow the laws of Moses and Deuteronomy. Iblis is the hidden commander of today's society.
You see. And then they go on and on about America. It was founded by the devil. I mean, I got like 3.5 minutes, but we're not going to watch it because it's just disgusting and pathetic. And I'm sorry, but you know what? You came to this country for a better life, for a better chance. You know what? You can't hate it simultaneously. You can't hate its founders. You can't hate your fellow Americans. And if you do, you know what? You really don't belong in this country. I'd include Rashida in that because she really doesn't seem to like America. Nor does her little girlfriend on the squad one, Ilhan Omar. They really don't seem to like us. And I realize they have their own religion and their own country that they came from that they still wish they were back in for some reason. And they don't seem to appreciate the opportunity that they've been afforded right here. I mean, Rashida's out there trying to indoctrinate our kids. They're in Detroit staging a public school walkout, telling these kids, you know what, they're coming after all of us. Not just me, they're coming after you too. Listen, Rashida, I wish they'd come after you a little bit more, frankly, because you don't seem to be in support of the country that has offered you so much opportunity. Take a look at what she put on Twitter over the weekend, both the U.S. and genocidal Israel. It's always about Israel, right? Don't care. Oh, forgive me. I'm actually speaking proper English. This woman can't write it. Doesn't care about the laws. This is who they are. A lot of people asking, you know, why is she referring to the U.S. as they? It's her country. It's her country. But, you know, you wouldn't know it. Now, would you? Not by the way she carries on. This woman is pretty darn disgusting in many, many different ways. I think we're all in agreement on that. But don't forget, you know, she was afforded these opportunities because she did grow up in the United States of America. And yet she's longing for her homeland, clearly in some major way. I'm going to play a soundbite for you of her on the campaign trail talking to her peeps there in Dearborn, Michigan, for example, people that could be at that mosque that's in her district. And she's, listen to the language. It's kind of important to listen to this because, again, it does not feel to me anyway like she's on the side of the United States of America. It seems like she's living someplace else, longing for Palestine for some reason.
I like to remind people that I'm not just a typical Palestiniya, I'm a falaha. Y'all, this incredible, beautiful city that raised me makes me emotional because you need to know this is the city that sent the granddaughter of Shama Dajani from Beit Hanina, the granddaughter of Muftiya and Isa Abdullah from Beit al-Foka. They sent this granddaughter of Palestine to the United States Congress. Detroit sent the descendant of Sidi Abdullah, Isa, who wouldn't leave his land even after they shot him multiple times. They thought they could kill us, rape us, imprison us, violently uproot us from our olive tree farms, starve our children to death, and we would disappear. Well, guess what? Now we're in Congress and we're every corner of the United States. Y'all, they just don't get it. They just don't get it. They will never truly comprehend, Jama'ah, even after 7 decades, that we aren't going anywhere. We are just getting started. I want to say to all of them, every genocide enabler, look at this room's motherfuckers. We ain't going anywhere.
You hear that? You're not going anywhere. What's your plan? You're going to take over the United States? I'm just curious. What is the plan? Yeah, I would point to, and we're going to get into this, 2024, when someone in the Biden administration leaked the entire operation that Israel had planned for Iran. Someone in the Biden-Harris administration leaked that operation. Everything in it. That would be a U.S. citizen did that. So you got to be aware, right, of who's out there and who your problems are. Now, I'm not saying she did that.
Yep, that's my state. Terrible. Terrible, terrible. Next 2 will be Nick videos. A minute.
Overseas, Trump just quietly did something massive that not enough people are aware of or talking about because all the focus is on Iran. But ladies and gentlemen, Trump just did something huge right here at home, and clearly the man can focus on both foreign issues and domestic at the same time. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you guys about this quiet victory, which is going to impact millions of Americans and put money right back in all of our pockets. So we're going to get right into this, but first, go to mypillow.com and save 50% off the 6-piece towel set while the mega sale is still on. It's going to be over soon, so do not miss out. Save 50% with promo code Nick and get yours today. So ladies and gentlemen, the Trump administration just hit right at the heart of some of the biggest corporations in America in an attempt to put money back in Americans' pockets and address an issue which has been longstanding, and there's been a growing concern about this very subject for quite some time. But Trump promised he was going to do something about it, and today he delivered. And what are we talking about here? The Ratepayer Protection Pledge, as it's called. So the White House just posted this. They're calling it a historic signing that will help keep utility bills down very, very substantially. America's largest tech companies officially signed the Ratepayer Protection Pledge. And we're going to play this promotional video, which optically just looks incredible. And then I'll explain a little bit more in detail how this is going to work and why this is going to put money back in all of our pockets.
We're here this afternoon for a historic signing that will help keep down utility bills very, very substantially. Today, we follow through on an announcement I made in my State of the Union address last week as America's largest tech companies officially signed the Ratepayer Protection Pledge. It's a big deal. this is a historic win for countless American families.
We're going to win in AI, and we're going to stop the rise of electricity prices because of the 7 leaders that are sitting around this table.
Mr. President, we want to be on your team to deliver a big win for the American people.
You've made us all know that it's not about the products, it's about the people.
We as an administration are using every tool at our disposal to ensure that the U.S. can build and maintain the largest, most powerful, and most advanced AI infrastructure anywhere on the planet.
And to your point, it must be powered by abundant and affordable energy if it is to benefit all Americans.
This is a win-win-win across the board.
Sorry, I couldn't help but roll my eyes there at the Meta executive saying that they give a damn about American people. Yeah, that's why you freaking banned my account, you stupid bastard. These smug, psychopathic bastards at Google and Meta and OpenAI, they don't give a damn about you and me. And I think that goes without saying. But there's a reason why they are volunteering to do this. They're obviously getting something out of the deal. And I'll cover that at the end of the video. So stick around if you want to hear the other side of the coin. But ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about this. This is historic. This is significant. And it is a massively positive thing for Americans. And the reason is simple. Because many of us have seen our electricity bills skyrocket with the implementation of data centers that are being put up all around the country to power these big tech companies like Meta, OpenAI, Google, Amazon, and others. There were 7 big ones, and I mean, I missed a couple there, but you get the point. And up until this point, here's what's been happening, okay? You put up a big data center, right? You plug into the grid to power it, and it creates a massive, massive demand for energy, which the current infrastructure cannot support. So then the power companies then have to develop new infrastructure to supply the power to these data centers. And what do the power companies do? They disperse the cost of the new infrastructure across the board to all the people that are on the grid. And this makes our utility bills go up. And people have seen their bills climb 100%, 200%. I mean, this has become a massive, massive problem. These data centers are extremely resource hungry, and it has been on us to foot the bill. And we've seen not just our electricity bills go up, but our water bills go up as well. And so what this ratepayer protection pledge does is it says to the big tech companies, if you are going to put up a data center and you are going to require new infrastructure, you are going to have to supply it. You're going to have to create it. You're going to have to pay for it out of your pocket, not the American people. And the American people are no longer going to pay for it for you. And just to really drive home how massive this is and what a big deal this is, I want to share with you some of the research that I generated using AI, ironically. And this really makes it, gives us a better understanding of just how bad this is right now and how much worse it was going to be over time if something wasn't done. So here's the deal. A single hyperscale data center can use as much power as 80,000 households. Okay, now they're calling this the Virginia nightmare because in Virginia, the data center capital of the world, these centers were on track to consume nearly 60% of the state's entire electricity supply by 2030. Before this pledge, utility companies were planning to spend billions on new transmission lines to feed these centers. And under the old rules, they would split that bill and add it to everyone's monthly statement. Now, the impact in 2024 alone, families in just 7 states, including Ohio and Pennsylvania, paid $4.4 billion just to build the wires for big tech. And mind you, they're just going to keep putting up more and more data centers, and we're all going to pay for it. But we already paid, if you live in Pennsylvania and Ohio and these other 7 states, $4.4 billion. So you are essentially paying a tech tax every month to Mark Zuckerberg, and it was allowing him to make a bunch of money, and he's being subsidized by all of us footing the bill. That is crazy. So the impact here of this ratepayer protection pledge is very, very significant, effectively ending that subsidy by forcing these companies to build, bring, or buy their own power. Trump is removing that multi-billion-dollar burden from the public. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what do the tech companies get out of it? And how was Trump able to get them to agree to this voluntarily? Because this is a pledge at the end of the day. This is voluntary. And so here's the ultimatum that Trump gave. The AI companies, the tech companies were facing a problem where a lot of permits and projects, data centers that they wanted to put up were being blocked and walled off because of at the local level. There was red tape. A lot of projects were being frozen because of community protests over the additional cost in their utility bills. So what Trump did was he said, I will remove the red tape and allow these projects to continue so long as you foot the bill. Now, this is very strategic because Trump understands we are in an AI race right now, and he doesn't want us falling behind China, and he doesn't want us falling behind these other competitive countries. And so Trump sees this as a mutually beneficial situation because it's kind of a carrot and stick strategy. We are going to allow you to fast track the production of these data centers. We are going to give you some federal land access. We are going to streamline the permitting. We're going to expand natural gas and coal production to make it all possible for you and clear the way and clear the roadblocks. In exchange, you take the burden off of the American people. So that's why Mike Rowe Johnson, the House Speaker, was calling this a win-win for everybody. At the end of the day, everybody's getting something out of the deal. Let's be honest here. But this definitely addresses the major concern for the hardworking Americans that are seeing their utility bills go up. At the same time, we are not cutting the projects. We're not banning data centers. We're allowing them to continue. In fact, we're allowing them to accelerate and putting American companies and corporations at the forefront of the AI race at the same time as reducing the burden on Americans themselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, I see this as a big win, but I understand there could be a different perspective on this. A lot of people do not like these data centers or AI, and I'm interested to hear the conversation in the comments down below. Let me know what you guys think.
Okay, the first Nick video. Before I do the second one, Flying Eagle, there's some breaking news in Florida. I want to see if I can get it. Well, it's already, it's a 3-hour thing. You ought to show the first 5 minutes here. Did you hear about that? Ah, darn it. Some kind of warehouse. Yep, Miami. It's on Facebook. I don't use Facebook, but that's came off of there. Uh, 9 minutes.
Here, and this is a very interesting dynamic that is playing out, because it looks like, on the surface at least, there is a deal being cut right now between Trump and the Rhino establishment to sacrifice an America First Patriot candidate in a hotly contested Senate runoff. And in exchange, we may get the SAVE Act passed by Senate Majority Leader John Thune and the Rhinos in the Senate. And I want to show you guys what I'm talking about here. So a lot of you guys know there is a hotly contested Senate runoff race in the state of Texas between John Cornyn, the incumbent and Rhino establishment, anti-Trumper, anti-border wall, anti-American John Cornyn, who is backed by John Thune, and the Republican establishment. He is most definitely a Rhino and the establishment candidate. They've put tens of millions of dollars behind his campaign, and they're trying to make him the Republican nominee for the Senate race in Texas. Well, on the other hand, we've got the America First Patriot, Ken Paxton, and the establishment wants Trump to endorse John Cornyn, and it does appear that he's leaning in that direction, as he's indicated in interviews to Politico and other outlets. He does appear to be leaning that way, and the establishment wants Ken Paxton to drop out as well. So we've got a situation here where the entire deep state establishment, Rhino establishment, is coming down on Ken Paxton, and they want him to drop out. On top of that, Trump has already said that he's going to be making his endorsement soon and asking the other candidate that he doesn't endorse to immediately drop out of the race. So if Trump endorses Cornyn, that would be, Trump's going to be asking Ken Paxton to step aside to avoid a messy primary and avoid having to spend a bunch of money between two Republicans when they could just save that money and put it all towards the general election. And here's what Ken Paxton said initially after Trump made that statement about the other candidate dropping out. He said he was not going to drop out under any circumstance.
And what message do you want to send to the Republican base? President Trump said he's going to make an endorsement. Whoever he does endorse should drop out. I have a funny feeling you don't drop out under any circumstance.
No, I'm staying in this race. I owe it to the people of Texas. I've spent a year of my life campaigning against John Cornyn because John has not represented the people of Texas well. He's sided with Joe Biden on Second Amendment restrictions. He's sided with Joe Biden on bringing Afghan refugees to settle here without vetting them. But he's been against Trump in both of his elections, said he shouldn't run last time, that his day had passed. And, of course, he fought him on the border wall. He's been an amnesty guy. Everything that Trump stood for, John Cornyn's fought. But he was a big help to Joe Biden. The people of Texas, at least the Republicans, would like something different.
So there you have it. And he's absolutely right about John Cornyn. This guy was against the border wall. He's for amnesty for all illegals in the state of Texas. He said we should all move on from Trump after the 2020 election. This guy is a straight up Rhino establishment spook. So that's what Ken Paxton initially said. Now, he's since changed his tune, and we're going to get into that in a second. But after that statement he made to John Solomon, here was Trump's response. The president, in a brief phone conversation with Politico Thursday morning, said an endorsement will be made pretty soon. And then he addressed Ken Paxton and what he said about not being willing to drop out, even if Trump endorses Cornyn. Trump said, quote, well, that's bad for him to say. That is bad for him. So maybe that leads me to go the other direction. And before we get any further, I want to kind of lay down the foundation of where I'm going to go with this. One thing I know for sure is that Trump and Ken Paxton have a pretty good relationship. Okay, Ken Paxton has been an adamant supporter of the president and all of his policies. He brought that 2020 election case to the Supreme Court to challenge the election results. And he has been persecuted, and he has watched the persecution of Trump. And he stood by Trump every step of the way, okay? And these two have a pretty damn good relationship. So the optics here, at least on the surface, appear to be that Trump plans to endorse Cornyn because he's not happy with Ken Paxton's statement that he's not going to drop out of the race and therefore defy Trump's request. So I'm going to make an assumption here and say that I think what Trump is saying is mostly to lay the groundwork for a strategic play, and that this is more about creating the optics and the narrative that Trump plans to endorse Cornyn as a move against Ken Paxton. I don't think that's really what's going on here, but I think that's what Trump is trying to create optically. And now here's where things get really interesting. So at that point, Ken Paxton came out with this statement. He said the Save America Act is the most important bill the U.S. Senate could ever pass, and I'm committed to helping President Trump get it done. I would consider dropping out of this race if Senate leadership agrees to lift the filibuster and passes the Save America Act. John Cornyn is a coward who has refused to support abolishing the filibuster to pass this bill. Now, fake news reporters and the establishment are trying to destroy me with misinformation. The truth is clear. No one has been more loyal to Donald Trump than me. Fighting the stolen 2020 election, being in Mar-a-Lago when he announced his 2024 campaign, and standing with him in New York in the face of lawfare for the good of our country and for the good of passing President Trump's agenda. I am determined to help him get this done. And ladies and gentlemen, could we be witnessing a sacrifice of Attorney General Ken Paxton in an attempt to get the SAVE Act passed to appease Senate Majority Leader John Thune? It does appear that that's what's going on here. And it's a damn shame that it has to be that way if that is what's going on. Because, I mean, just think about the fact that we've got to sacrifice somebody like Ken Paxton and elect somebody like John Cornyn because the Senate refuses to do what the American people have demanded. It's an 84% issue to get them to do their job and act on the will of the people. We've got to sacrifice one of the best candidates on the ticket for the 2026 midterm election cycle. That is unbelievable, but that may be what it takes. And I got to say, as much as I hate to see it, I would take the SAVE Act over Attorney General Ken Paxton all day long. And cutting Ken Paxton out of the election might actually be enough leverage to force John Thune's hand because for whatever reason, John Thune is like John Cornyn's butt buddy, and John Thune seems to be willing to do whatever it takes to get him elected. They've already spent tens of millions of dollars. And so if this is what it takes, then I got to say, so be it. Now, you may disagree. You may not think that it's worth it. But one thing I can say for sure is I can almost guarantee that Trump and Ken Paxton have talked to each other. They have spoken to each other about this situation. And this may be what Trump has decided is the best course of action to get the SAVE Act passed. And that does appear to be top of mind, as Trump has been posting about the SAVE Act on True Social all day long following this exchange with Ken Paxton. So I'm sensing a art of the deal situation going on here. And I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comment section. Leave a comment down below.
Okay, we got two Nixon. The next two are Doug. The first is 10 minutes.
Michelle Obama, although that would be strange. No, this is about their admission that all of their yang, hanging, and crime about Republican redistricting was a massive lie. They're actually for it when it's in Virginia. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the Happy Patriots are. I'm calling my allies. Is anyone? I love calling Barack Obama a filthy liar, one of the worst presidents, probably the worst president of my lifetime. I know Biden is worse just because he wasn't conscious. That is, a corpse is technically worse than Obama, but Obama's actually smart and actively evil. Like Biden's barely even conscious, so how much evil can he perform? Here's Barack Obama in a recent Democrat ad on the redistricting where they have to bring out the magic golden boy, Barack Obama, the magic one, to lecture everyone. Let's get to this clip.
Free and fair elections are the cornerstone of our democracy, but right now they are under threat. Over the past year, several Republican-controlled states have taken the unprecedented step of redrawing their congressional maps.
I'm going to stop him right here. I'm going to stop him throughout this thing. I'll go back and start it, a little earlier than now, but he's already lied because he's gone into Texas pretending like Texas Republicans redrawing congressional maps was the first shot over the bow. He's forgetting the last 40 years of context that led up to Texas redrawing the congressional maps, number one. Number two is the Republicans got ripped off in the 2020 census, which was a complete grift. Even Democrat experts agree. It overcounted Democrats and undercounted Republicans. That is, we lost about, they say, 10 to 18 seats. It should be swung in the Republican favor. So now Republicans are just trying to address that in Texas by redrawing congressional maps. And that's all this is. Now, Democrats are trying to pretend like that was the first grift, was what Texas did. No, Texas was trying to fix something that was wrong. I'm going to rewind it a little bit. Here's more Obama.
Unprecedented step of redrawing their congressional maps in the middle of the decade. And they've done it for a simple reason, to give themselves an unfair advantage in the midterms this fall.
That is a lie. We did not do it for the simple reason to give ourselves an advantage in midterms. We did it to alleviate the suffering and the lie of the census in 2020. So remember that. This is the Atlantic that he's quoting there, which is a Democrat paper. Donald Trump's plan to subvert the midterms is already underway. That's actually more honest than what Barack Obama just said. The goal is not to be unfair. The goal is to be fair. It was unfair. So you have to do it in the midterms because you can't wait until 2031 to correct this error. I'm going to get to that proof in just a minute. I'm going to do a real quick ad for our sponsors. Someone just reached out to me in my audience and said, what was the name of that company again? It's Chapter. That you're probably on the wrong Medicare plan. You're probably losing money every year. I'm trying to help you make money. You guys know I'm not a hard salesman. I've watched it with my audience, flat out, members of my audience who have saved $3,000 a year because they called Chapter. Call the number. This is our partner number where I get a benefit if you call this number. It's 631-961-8696. Call my friends at Chapter. I trust them. The only reason why I'm giving the number is because you can trust them. The number is going to be the first phone number in the description, and it's going to be the first number in the first pinned comment, 631-961-8696. And now back to Obama telling you filthy lies. Here's that ad again. So this is a Democrat ad that they're running right now.
Themselves an unfair advantage in the midterms this fall. In April, Virginians can respond by making sure your voting power is not diminished by what Republicans are doing in other states. This amendment gives you the power to level the playing field in the midterms this fall. And voters will have the final say over what the maps look like.
It's ironic that this are literally lies when he says they can level the playing field. The Republicans are the ones that are right now leveling the playing field. So what he really should say is Democrats have an opportunity to keep the playing field unlevel in our favor. That's what he really wants. Let me go back a little bit on this one.
Voters will have the final say over what the maps look like. This is the responsible thing to do. It's also a temporary measure. After the 2030 census, Virginia will go back to a system that lets a bipartisan redistricting commission redraw the maps.
So they're admitting that they want a partisan redistricting. We'll go back to a bipartisan redistricting after 2031, which we'll be lucky if the entire earth is still here, is what I'm thinking. And Obama's thinking too. 2031, that's a long way off. All he knows is we have to fix this now because what happens in 2030 with the new census? In the new census, the Democrats are going to get voted out of that district in charge of it. It's going to become bipartisan, but they're going to be lucky to get even a little bit of help from the Democrats in that one. So they want to keep it unfair.
We can't afford 2 more years of unchecked power and zero accountability.
Okay, so again, I hope you see the hidden level. They can't afford 2 more years of unchecked power. They can't afford 2 more years of Trump. Their goal is to undermine 2 years of Trump. They're trying to make him lame duck. And if this goes through, it will go toward that because they can redistrict Virginia, give them a lead in that House of Representatives and the Senate.
Help us chart a better path forward.
No.
Early voting begins on March 6th. Election day is April 21st. Vote yes, Virginia.
Okay, vote no, Virginia. So my automatic statement is anytime this is the Antichrist, Obama. He's not the Antichrist. Many Antichrists have come, the Bible says. He's one of the most evil presidents we've ever had. Now, if he says vote yes, then all you need to know is vote no on redistricting in Virginia, beginning on March 6th and going to April 1st. So this is my first call to action to any of my audience that lives in Virginia. Please do check in the comments below. Now we're going to get to this actual vote. Let me get to the text here. This is over on the Virginia Department of Elections website. It says proposed amendment for April 26, 2026 special election. This is a special election that they're throwing in there to try to make things even more unfair for Republicans. Explanation for proposed constitutional amendment to be voted on April 21st, 2026 special election. Proposed constitutional amendment this is going to be the ballot question. Should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow the General Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness in the upcoming elections, while ensuring Virginia's standard redistricting process resumes for all future redistricting after the 2030 census? Barack Obama says answer yes. MAGA and pro-Trump answer no. And finally, this is the final one I want to read from Real Clear Politics. Spanberger and Dems, Obama, lie about gerrymandering scheme. Once you burn your credibility, it's hard to get it back. Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger deceived voters and concealed her true leftist agenda to win the governor's mansion last year. Now she and her fellow Democrats are lying to Virginians about a new gerrymandered congressional district map they placed on the ballot as a constitutional amendment on April 21st. It's a naked attempt to make it impossible for Republicans to win election to Congress in most places in Virginia. And it's why she was rewarded with the plum assignment of responding to President Trump's State of the Union address last week. So this is why she did the response to Trump's killer State of the Union. Why? The Virginia Supreme Court has already had one chance to stop the gerrymandering by upholding a judge's ruling that Democrats cut legal corners to get the measure on the ballot. The justices, however, inexplicably chose to wait until the vote happened. So judges have given up their authority in Virginia and said, we're not going to wait on this. We're going to let them vote on it because they know Democrats have a shot at winning this one. I filed another lawsuit to bring new challenges along with my colleagues, Rep. Morgan Griffith in Virginia 9 and the RNC and NRCC. We won in circuit court, blocking the referendum again. So our Supreme Court will have another chance to do the right thing. As we wait for the ruling, it's important that people have the facts. Spanberger masqueraded as a moderate in her campaign and won ceaseless praise from the media for her focus on affordability. But she dropped that as soon as she was sworn in and went right back to what she truly believes, which is she returned Virginia to the multi-state radical environmental scheme that artificially raises electricity rates by $500 million a year. She's currently considering a variety of tax increases proposed by Democrats in the Virginia legislature, including bumps in the sales and income tax, as well as taxes on everyday services like dog walking and gym memberships. She has yet to rule out raising taxes on anything. So that's the truth. And Obama will not tell you that in this Virginia election. Vote no on that special election. Remember that, guys. And it's time to tell your friends, to my friends who, if you have relatives in Virginia, let them have it. Don't forget to call Chapter to help you save money on Medicare.
Okay, first dog, got one more dog, and I'm going to do two more Benny videos. One video on Benny has a laser, talk about laser stuff. So we'll finish those last two on him. $14 on this one, you guys.
We're using it successfully. Weapons also all throughout Israel. Welcome to Doug and Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. I stand with our troops. I stand with Trump. You cannot stand with our troops and Trump and degrade their mission. I never want my troops to hear me disparaging this mission while they're out in field. After the war, we can all talk about this. But in the meanwhile, they're my guys. I'm MAGA. I'm pro-Trump. I'm not here to give Trump any flack at all for this mission. I believe this is good versus evil. This is how it's done. And the good guys are winning. And in hindsight, history will remember this as good. I could be wrong. I was wrong about Iraq. But going into Iraq, there's no way we could have known. Here's the footage of directed energy laser weapon fired at sea. Navy unveils secret Helios system. This is the Helios system. The U.S. Navy just released footage of the USS Preble unleashing its classified directed energy laser weapon, Helios. That's it, being targeted at something at sea. High energy beam. Now, no missile can withstand this beam. This is just money, guys. Wars are won or lost on finances alone. That is, how much does it cost for Iran to buy a missile or make a missile? The ships that we intercepted from the Houthis showed that Iran was buying multi-stage like missiles that were assembled by 3 parts, and we saw how they were assembling them. They could deconstruct them, and it was easier for them to hide in those underground bunkers. I have video footage coming up that's going to show those bunkers being blown up. Okay, so we have all this intel on Iran's particular missiles. And it's the cost, ultimately. How much does it cost for Iran to buy a missile? Let's say it's $1 million. Well, how much do our F-22s cost to go up in the sky and shoot them down? Each F-22 is like $100 million. So it always pays for them to spray these cheap ballistic missiles. That's why, in a way, the nuclear conversation is a bit of a distraction. Far worse is Iran's stockpile of ballistic missiles, which Barack Obama said we will do no limitations on your ballistic missiles. You just cannot do a nuclear bomb. And all the libertarians and all the isolationists, I get it. They're like, we don't want Americans dying for oil or Iran or Israel or whatever. They're living in the last century. They don't understand that the big ticket item that Iran has is, number one, that we had open borders and we have terrorists here. It's easy to bring a dirty bomb, which does not require an intercontinental ballistic missile. But also we have to take out their ballistic missiles to keep them from firing on us and our oil reserves and our tankers going through the Straits of Hormuz, etc. This is the weapon. And then here's the other thing. That laser weapon that you see, guess how much it costs once you build the actual weapon? The actual heat energy that they use is pennies on the dollar. Compared to firing a missile, this is cheap. So that's why Israel, while the Iron Dome can't stop every missile from coming in, it's incredibly economical because you can fire these light beams off all day and it's not costing you money compared to one round. One shell is more expensive than these energy weapons. There's the United States Navy deployed a laser weapon to this war. CENTCOM released footage of the Helios system mounted on a destroyer operating off Iran's coast. The New York Post, citing sources familiar with the operation, reported Helios has been used against Iranian drones during Operation Epic Fury. So see, the drones cost more than the energy beam. So now we're on the good side of how a war is won. Wars are almost all economics. Look up Victor Davis Hanson on World War II. We'll explain it all. It's all economics. How well can you outproduce the other nation? And remember, China's doing all of our production, so you don't want one of your world enemies, China, doing all your ballistics, which is why you have to have manufacturing of AI and drones. In drones, 80% of the parts are coming from China. We got to bring that here, guys. Stick around. Subscribe to the channel. You might learn something. You might see why this is not just war hawk, neocon, blah, blah, blah. That's ignorant. That's not what I'm doing. I'm way to the right of the neocons, by the way. Way, way, way to the right. You're naive about human evil if you think everyone is going to behave just because you have an ocean between you and them. Sorry, guys, it's a different world. We're fighting AI wars, drone wars, nuclear wars, terrorism, suitcase bombs, asymmetric warfare, guys. Yeah, and you're in it. You're in the battle. We were in the battle, like they said. Trump's trying to end a 40-year war with Iran. We're trying to end it. And people go like, oh, Doug, you have no skin in the game. Like I said, my son's in boot camp. Don't give me this. I don't have skins in the game. They will probably send him to Iran before this whole thing is over. I don't believe in boots on the ground. I don't want boots on the ground. If Trump says boots on the ground, he's the commander in chief. He's MAGA. He's the president. and I trust him. Whether Helios has recorded confirmed combat kills in the war is not yet publicly verified. They don't publicly verify that stuff. Here we are shooting up the bunker bombs. These are Iran's bunker bombs. This is Iran's underground base storing missiles and air defense system was just blown up. Let's get this up bigger on screen here. So you can see this is in the middle of a sandy desert. There's nothing out there but camels and horny toads. And they're being blown up right there. Oh, yeah. This is also where AI comes into play. AI reading this footage is able to look at satellite images of where the missiles came out of the ground. So they may be hidden. As soon as they come out of the ground, we just instantly send missiles right back. So you don't have to do a guess. You can't just fire bombs in the desert and hope you hit a silo. You'd never hit anything. So this is brilliant technology, but brilliant surveillance. And we have drones in the sky sending back live camera footage all day, guys. The war is in great hands, and Trump is going to get amazing credit. Now, this is what I found kind of funny. Or interesting, I should say. This is in Kentucky, Iranian Americans in Kentucky. I just want to talk to Thomas Massey about your constituency. Iranian Americans in Kentucky celebrate the strikes on the brutal regime in Tehran, with President of the United States making good on his statement that help is on the way, unquote. Finally, it happened. People are really happy. They're finally really happy.
Let's everybody toast.
A celebration of a different kind in this Kentucky Iranian American household as they honor
Cheers.
all Americans and Israeli people involved in the attack in Iran and the killing of the supreme ruler Ayatollah Ali Khamenei.
It is
Mehdi Gayoumi has waited
difficult to even
most of his life for this change.
It's difficult to say how I feel.
It has been 47 years that Iranians have been under a dictatorship.
It's just like this has happened. This is what people was waiting for.
Naeem Torchian has been watching back home as his family tries to survive the unrest, showing his support for his loved ones in the Middle East, waiting on President Trump to fulfill his promise after he posted to social media in January to say, quote, help is on the way, as protesters were being killed in Iran.
And people were waiting and keep asking what happened. Is he going to hit or not? So finally it happened. It's not over yet, but people are really happy that they finally have a chance to overthrow that brutal regime.
Is this guy funded by the Jews? I keep seeing that comment every time I support this conflict. People are going like, you just serve Bibi Netanyahu. Someone said in my chat, I yelled at him. I'm trying to keep my mind open, not my mind open. I'm trying to keep my channel open to people who dissent on this military conflict. I don't see any good reasons against it so far. Iran is not Iraq, guys. That's the number one false premise. If you say Iran is just another Iraq, demonstrate it with facts. Tell me how it's different. Tell me how it's different. In fact, there's more in common with Iran and Nazi Germany than there is with Iraq or Vietnam. Here's Pete Hegseth, good guy on the mission.
One of the dumbest phrases in military history, which used to be echoed from the former Defense Department in the previous administration, they would say it over and over and over again, was our diversity is our strength. It's the single dumbest phrase in military history. Because what is our strength is our unity.
Boom. Our strength is our unity, MAGA. And I support this president. I support our military. I support the 70% of Americans that are for this conflict. It's our unity. Notice I'm not saying multicultural diversity. I'm not saying I support Iran's culture. I don't support Iran's culture. I'm not Muslim. I'm not Iranian. I'm not even an Iranian Christian. I'm a Christian and I'm a patriot and I love freedom. Notice Christian, freedom, patriot, those are not unique to America. And the tears of that Iranian in Kentucky can be pointed directly at Thomas Massey, who said Trump only went into Iran to distract from the Epstein files. That is disgusting to say about our troops while our troops are over there, dying for our country, frankly, some of them, 5 of them.
Our strength is in our shared purpose.
Amen.
In the training we do together, the capabilities we have to do. We can do together. In our context, the Constitution we swear an oath to defend together, the uniform we wear together. That is our strength.
Amen. And what does the Constitution say? All men are created equal. All men. It doesn't say all Americans are created equal. It says all men are created equal. You know, it seems like the anti-war people are unclear on who the good guys are. They keep making us into the bad guys. Our military are not bad. Trump is not bad. Democrats think he's bad, and they will use the anti-war movement to win the elections. And the first thing they'll do after they throw me in jail is they will throw Thomas Massie in jail for his free speech. They will throw Marjorie Taylor Greene in jail for her free speech, even though she supported the war. They're not going to love you. They're not going to help you. They will oppress every isolationist, every Ayn Rand, Ron Paul, isolationist, America first. You're going to prison if you split MAGA and get a Democrat elected. So Thomas Massie getting in bed with Ro Khanna and Ilhan Omar, you think they're going to go easy on you when they win? If they win in 2026 and 2028, you got another thing coming. You guys are naive. I'm on the Trump train. He's the one who is saving America's life. And he decided that it is the safest for America to take out Iran's nuclear facilities, not to aid in regime change. That's Israel's mission. It's not necessarily our mission, but Israel is a faithful ally, more faithful than Thomas Massie. Here's CENTCOM released footage showing U.S. strikes targeting several aircraft hangars and planes in Iran. Iran no longer even has an Air Force, guys. You're going to see little skirmishes and stuff, but this is the footage just released. I love this footage. That's a hangar going down. Oh, there's a whole line of juicy planes. Can't fly those anymore. They don't work. Broke all your planes. We're going to continue to break all their hardware. Now, this is to make my case that this war is very popular. CNN is forced to report. Now, you know, CNN does not want to prove that Donald Trump is popular. He's more popular in his own party right now than any Republican president has been before him. At this stage, Trump is still more popular. Watch the clip.
Republicans love Donald Trump more than any president's own party supporters loved him at this particular point. Just take a look here. Okay, own party supporters, 21st century presidents, own party approval about at this point in the second term. Bush was at 77%. Obama was at 77%. Look at this. 86% of Republicans approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing at this point. That is higher than either Obama or Bush had within their own party at this point. Trump's magic touch has not seen the war off yet when it comes to the Republican base.
And what kind of approval are we talking about here?
Okay, so we're talking about overall approval here. How about the strongly approved, not just like, but love. Okay, we're going to look at these same presidents again. Strong approval among your own party's base. What you see here is Trump is the only one who gets a majority at this point in their presidency. Obama was at 48%. Bush was at 47%. You see here Trump at 53%, not as high as overall approval rating, but still getting a majority of the Republican base.
If you don't support Trump, if you're not in the 53%, and people undermining this military incursion, they're the 47% that don't strongly approve of Trump. I strongly approve of this. I back him up. Do you? Let me know in the chat below. We're going to be in this for a while. He needs to hear our support. He is not going to turn tail like Biden did in Afghanistan and say, we surrender, like the French. I'm Doug in exile.
Okay, we got two Dougs in, and the last two will be Benny.
Don't say Trump didn't warn you. President Trump stood on a world stage just 2 short months ago and said that we have weapons that you can't even understand right now.
Much greater risks than it did ever before because of missiles, because of nuclear, because of weapons of warfare that I can't even talk about. 2 weeks
Weapons
ago,
of
they saw
warfare
weapons
that I
nobody ever heard
can't
of.
even talk
They
about.
weren't able to fire one shot at us. They said, what happened? Everything was discombobulated. But 2 weeks ago, they saw weapons that nobody ever heard of.
Weapons that nobody ever heard of, weapons I can't even talk about. President Trump has often and regularly bragged about his discombobulator, talked about American tech, saying that he has weapons that nobody even understands. Not even we understand them. All right. Made us a little curious about alien technology, but it seems like America has busted the can open on laser battlefield applications in the Iran war. Laser weapons deployed in Operation Epic Fury as Space Force stops Iran's missiles in their tracks. A wild exclusive report here in the New York Post sort of buckles in and, kind of tells the other side of the story of Trump's sonic weapon, discombobulator. Nobody else has it. And nobody else has this, man. Iranian weapon debris blown to pieces. It keeps dropping out of the sky, and nobody knows why. We can thank heat-seeking satellites, military-grade malware, and radar jamming software, all made in America. New technology, laser weaponry, has been deployed against Iran as Operation Epic Fury, the Post has learned. Yikes, that's why Iran looks like this. Just a reminder, when you see footage like this out of Iran, all of Iran was protected by Chinese satellites and Russian anti-aircraft and anti-missile technology. All of it is collapsed. Iran is being used as a proxy right now to show the Chinese and the Russians that they have nothing. And that it's best to just come back into the fold because your tech will be nothing compared to us. This is what Venezuela was as well. U.S. Navy destroyer off the coast of the Middle East, fitted with a new weapon, which appears to be a high-energy laser with integrated optical dazzler and surveillance Helios system. Videos released by U.S. Central Command show. Oh my. This laser is the state-of-the-art device that is, with a steerable head, able to concentrate an intense, tightly focused beam of energy and take out drones, according to a keen-eyed military watcher. Look at this. Here it is. This is the Helios laser weapon installed on a U.S. Navy destroyer. Similar videos, the skies over the Israel-Lebanon seemed to show the Iron Beam weapon. We've covered that. Neither the U.S. Navy nor Israeli military has confirmed or denied the existence of laser weapons in Epic Fury, which began on February 28th. However, the Navy said that in the beginning of February that it had taken out 4 drones in a test of Helios. Look at this. This is what it looks like. So we can take out the drones. Look at this. Optical dazzlers used the U.S. Navy to disable incoming threats in the Navy video. Whoa. During the first 72 hours of battle, 1,700 targets were struck by U.S. forces, made it possible to operate, obviously, overhead. This is what an iron beam laser would look like. This technology is crazy because it takes actually, and this is very expensive. Every single one of these is like $50,000 to $5 million a shot, right? Doing this is very expensive. Shooting the laser costs like $1. So it's wild and effective to fight with lasers. The satellites have infrared sensors. They find out where rockets are being fired. Says a professor in the Space Force program. And so the satellites are able to cover and shoot out of the sky from space these missiles. They can spot the missiles and pinpoint where the launchers are. The missiles can be intercepted and destroyed. Field forces often get notified of the attack as incoming so they can shelter in the bunkers. I mean, it really is. Iran really is like fighting a straight up Stone Age war here. Let's go ahead and look. This is what the military has released about their laser weapon. There it is. Whoa. Laser weapons are getting their first real workout. The Helios system, destroyer off Iran's coast, is zapping drones out of the sky, being credited with a lot of Iranian missiles and drone debris raining down across the region. Yeah. Helios laser. Integrated, optical. Primary for counter, unmanned aerial vehicle, fast attack craft, power and scalability. It can target these threats with 150 kilowatts. Functionality acts as an integrated system, high energy destruction, optical dazzling, deployment installed on the Burke class destroyers. Offers deep magazine, limited only by power generation, and low cost per shot. See? Very cool. Very freaking cool. What do they look like? There it is. So they did the test, right? Yeah. Cool. I like it. Helios directed energy weapon has been deployed against drones in Iran. Whoa. Look at that. Actual destruction of the drone via laser. That is so cool. That is very cool. Living in the future, man. United States now shooting down ballistic missiles from space. Ronald Reagan's dream has finally come true. CENTCOM reported that the U.S. is already using laser weapons to shoot down Iranian drones. The future is here. And we're not going back. That's what all this is. All this is just a flex on the Chinese to say your tech is garbage. Your tech is trash. A flex on the Russians to say your tech means nothing now. U.S. warship Zach's drone with laser. Welcome to the future. There it is. Man. Not expensive, no missiles, no reloads, just for pure sci-fi power. China ramping up drone activity near Japan. Don't be surprised when you start seeing this. Next gen defense directed energy weapons. This is directly from Lockheed Martin. What do you expect, man? There you go. Airborne laser systems. They've been talking about it. They've been pretty upfront about it for a long time. How Israel killed Ayatollah Khomeini with a missile from space. Living in the future, dude. Glad to be on this side of it, by the way. Tell you what. But like the more that you study all of this, the more you realize all of this is simply a flex to show the Chinese that their military tech is garbage. And the Russians that their military tech is Stone Age. And if they can't defend Iran, that like the whole rest of the world, that Iran is just like out there by themselves, getting blown to pieces, and that no one can defend, like no one's defending them, and you can buy from our enemies, it's not going to work. This is a dollar dominance play. That's all it is. I mean, you don't have to like it, but that's what it is. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. See ya.
Okay, everybody, that's going to wrap things up for today. We had two good shows. A lot of intel out again today. Welcome to the new people in chat. My time is different every day. It's the same when I have a chance to come on, I'll come on. So yeah, I'm just gonna do, when you have daily news, when something breaks. So thanks, mods, finding okay, Tim, Lucy, and Carol, and Watt must be going to make it in tonight. So God bless everybody. Love all. Remember, please hit the like and sub to the backup channels in my description box. Thank you. And then stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith, never give up. And signing off for another day and night until Chico Dude, and see what tomorrow. Friday, everybody. Have a good Friday. We'll see you sometime in the evening sometime, hopefully. And have a good weekend if I don't see you. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.